Welcome to Gorilla Sports Off Field. I am Liv Moods, and in just a minute by Nate Jackson and a very, very special guest. And this is presented by Trusted American Mortgage. Trusted American's salary-based mortgage consultants want to help you get into a better interest rate and lower your monthly payments. So head to trustedamerican.com to see how they can help you save some money today.
Hello and welcome in.
Please do not leave your luggage unattended on the station.
Welcome to the show.
Woo!
There you go, Charlie.
Charlie's like, am I missing something?
Yeah.
I don't remember us discussing that before the show started. Welcome. Would you like to do the honors here? We have a very, very special guest.
Yeah, welcome to Off Field.
Yeah.
You know I'm Nate and she's Liv, but we have a very special guest
Yes,
today.
we do.
Friend of mine, former teammate, Denver Bronco wide receiver, Charlie Adams. Charlie, how are you, man?
Good.
Welcome to the
guys.
show.
Thank you. Good to be here. Good
What's
to see
going
you
on, man?
guys.
How's life?
Pretty good. The last time I was here was during the Broncos playoff game. It's nice to be back. Good to see you
Ouch.
guys. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a
Yeah.
rough one.
Sorry to
Yeah,
bring
it
up
was.
bad
It
stuff.
was.
But it was fun because we got to see all the homies and
Yeah,
stuff.
that was a good day.
And we had a little
It's like a little reunion here.
we had a little Manning cast too. Like we brought in guys who were
I
remote.
know, you
and there
guys
were
did
guys who were
wonderful.
here
And
Yeah.
you were live for like
a long time.
a
A
long
long
time.
time.
Yeah, like 4 or 5
we couldn't get these
hours.
guys out of here,
No.
actually.
No, we
Yeah.
slept right here on the floor.
Yeah, sleeping bags.
Eating donuts.
Yeah.
Pizza, donuts.
Yeah,
you
those
name
donuts
it.
were yummy.
We have fun around here.
Yeah, we do.
Overall, I don't think I got to ask you, but how would you rate the Broncos season overall?
Last
year?
season?
Yeah.
I think it was better than expected.
Yeah.
I think for the lack of financial salary cap space they had and, the just sheer lack of talent at certain positions, I think they did pretty well.
I
Not a
think so,
running
too.
game to speak of, no tight end play. I think they did well.
Do you think it's lack of talent at those positions, or is that what you're
Yeah.
talking about?
I mean, there was just no running game. I'm not speaking on the talent of the running backs. I'm just saying there was no running game
There
to
wasn't.
That's
lean
what I'm
on. And I don't want to speak ill of any players here. I just think they could have had a better running game.
No, you talk some shit. Charlie.
Yeah, we do talk trash around here.
I don't
for
know.
sure.
Those guys have performed in the past. I think Sean Payton maybe wasn't as committed to the run as
That's
he,
exactly
as he,
what it is.
as
Yeah,
he
and that's
should
what-
as he could have been. But I think if he saw things in practice every day that made him want to commit to it, and
He
in
would
games
have.
every week, he would have.
You think it's that and not him not doing it enough for practice? Because you remember what it was like in Shanny's offense. The running game was so important. We
You're right.
practiced it super hard. There was an emphasis on it. We knew what we were going to do on game day, and we did it. Like Sean Payton had to write "run it" on his play sheet.
Yeah.
Like the camera caught it.
But maybe he's
think Mike
having
Shea-
to write that because he
Yeah.
doesn't want to, because he knows
They can't
it's
handle it.
2.3 yards a carry.
That's
Yeah.
actually a perspective we haven't really talked about. I think we've been more on the side of like he wasn't committing to it, but you bring up a really great point that maybe he wasn't given enough of a reason to commit
Right.
to it.
And he had to write that to say, you got to run it anyway.
Right,
you know?
right. I mean,
But
because
that's
again,
like saying
there's
I'm not going to punch, like I'm a boxer. I'm not going to punch the body because, or whatever. Like play calling, you have to run the ball. You
yeah,
have to
no, it's
pass
true.
the ball. The
Some
run
of this is
sets
his
up the throw,
stubbornness.
right?
We know that.
Yeah.
And running backs need more carries than like if they run one for 2 yards and it doesn't work, you got to keep giving it to them so they get the lather, right?
Feed
the
'em.
froth going, right? Chuckles?
Maybe most running backs.
That's his name, Chuckles.
love
Chuckles,
that.
Char is another one.
I love that.
Yeah.
Which one's your favorite?
As long as someone's talking to me, I'm good. I'm good.
He's like, as
I
long
don't
as I'm
care.
being addressed, I'm fine with
Nate's
that.
giving me quite a few nicknames.
One of the coolest
Are you the
things.
king of nicknames?
I'm up there. I'm up
I was
there.
gonna say, I think that seems like a skill set that you'd be really good at.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is. And you know what? One of the joys of my life is to like go hang out with Charlie and because he has a lot of friends, like more
Right.
friends than anyone in the world, like the most friends in the world. If Charlie ran for mayor of Denver, he would win, guaranteed.
That's not
Okay,
joke.
that's actually huge.
Yeah. And so when I go hang out with Charlie's friends who I don't know, and I'm hanging out in the corner, and one of them calls him Chuckles or Char, it makes me super happy because I know I started that, and that
That's good.
trickled into some new friend groups.
And now
Thanks,
it's
man.
Yeah.
generational.
I appreciate that.
Look
Yeah.
at you making an impact everywhere
You
you
know,
go, Nate.
it's the little things.
You're great at that.
It's the
You
little
really
things
are.
in life.
Well, we did want to spend some time talking about the Buffs,
Yeah.
actually. I saw an April Fool's post that said that Carson Beck, the Georgia quarterback, is that
Oh,
his
yeah.
name?
Oh, yeah.
There was like an April Fool's post that he was coming to see you, and I was like,
And
I almost fell for it. Did you
Is
guys
he
get
still
bamboozled
playing?
at all with April Fool's?
No, because it's April. You know what day it is, right?
I did.
You
I
got.
was
You got
watching, I
fooled?
watch part of the interruption PTI every day with Mike and Tony, and
Yeah.
the whole torpedo bat situation.
Yes.
Well, they came out. Their first story was the MLB came out and banned the torpedo bats
Ah.
they did a whole.
Do you think they
3-minute
should
story
ban
on it.
them?
I don't. I just think if it's legal, everybody has a chance to use it. Then use it. If they don't want anyone to use it, they should have said it before the season starts. And
It's
the
like the
Yankees hit
tush push.
15 home runs.
I feel like
Tush
all the
push,
teams
yeah.
that the tush push didn't work for, they were
Right.
like, get rid of it. It's like,
Exactly.
well, it just doesn't work for you.
Exactly.
You're just salty that it's like
exactly.
this sure-proof system for one team and it's just not for you. I think
Yeah.
that's more the frustration there. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
install it into your offense and just have everybody do it,
It
right?
doesn't look like it has a high degree of difficulty to
No.
teach your offense.
No.
Right?
no.
And actually, the Ravens have Mark Andrews doing it, taking the
Mhm.
snap because he's so big and strong, and then
And
having
then
someone
Amon
behind
Lamar
him
to get
push.
hurt. Yeah.
Yeah, and so it's like, okay, this guy's 265 pounds and he's a beast, so he's gonna be even better at it. So, yeah, there's always those little things that people figure out, and then yeah, we'll see.
It's like a cheat code.
Yeah, it's like a cheat
Nikola
code.
Jokic is a walking cheat code,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
people can't figure out what he does because it's, I think, virtually impossible. So some
It
people
is.
are just cheat codes themselves, but other people have to find cheat codes.
Yeah.
I'm a cheat code, I
Sure
think.
indeed.
Yeah, Liv, you are a cheat code.
No doubt about it.
Yeah, we're just
Nate just likes to gas me up. You know, that's what this is. But let's get to the CU
pro day.
NFL
Yeah,
showcase.
yeah,
the
they're
pro
calling
day.
it the NFL
I was going to
Showcase.
say it is very Coach Prime coded that he can't call it pro day like everybody else. We got to find a cool little name.
Yeah.
As we just talked about Nate Jackson being the nickname king, I think probably
Yeah.
so is Coach Prime.
Oh yeah.
Because didn't he do the whole like the C? What did he have? Like L for leader on
like
the chest.
D for
Leader,
dog.
dog.
I
And D
think?
for dog. It's like, can we just put the
Yeah.
C patch on and call it a day?
Well, no, he's
But
doing
no,
it
he
different.
can't. He's got to be unique, which
Yeah.
I think what makes Coach Prime so special
Mm.
because
Yeah.
he just is unapologetically Coach Prime. So CU NFL Showcase. It was not a pro day. It was, but they called it a showcase. And there's some things that we want to talk about here. First, I'll ask both of you, how valuable do you think a pro day is for these college athletes that maybe don't get an opportunity to go? the
I
combine.
think I think it depends on where you're at in the draft. Like, you know, for some guys, it's really important. For
Mhm.
some guys, they may not need it. I think if I'm Travis Hunter, I don't think I'm doing anything. You know, I think they're going to take him wherever they take him.
Mhm.
I think Shedeur, I mean, he's very talented. I think everybody knows that. I think a pro day for him can only hurt him, really.
Yeah.
I think most of the issues teams have with him are not his physical attributes. I think it's his
Yeah.
attitude. Not that he has a
Ego.
bad attitude, but
Yeah.
his ego, his how he operates maybe off the field. But I think depending on where you are, that's how important the draft is. A third, fourth, fifth rounder guy, you need that because if you slide, you're talking from third to fifth. That's a lot of money.
It
you know?
is. It's
See,
a
I
huge
think that
difference.
Shedeur's got. If I was a scout, I'd want to see him throw all the routes because, like he had some crazy numbers, but the offense was definitely catered to have him excel. Like spread, 4 receivers, everything's about Shedeur. No running game, no commitment at all, and it seemed as if it was. And he had an awesome receiving core and playing against competition that maybe people second guess. So I think. If I was going to draft him in the top 10, I'd want to see him throw all these. But to your point, like maybe he just doesn't want to do that and just let his tape speak for itself. But you don't think there's any on the field stuff that would be like, a question for scouts? Is he like a complete on the field quarterback in your opinion?
I believe he is. I mean, I saw him play a few times this year and last year, and his arm is crazy strong, and it's no arm motion. He's just like, phew, and it's gone, and it's like
It's like a
or
flick
in
of
a
the
row.
wrist. Yeah.
I think he has all the throws, but again, people want to find reasons, and there's the spy game that they play with each other, saying we don't like this guy, so he hopefully slides to this team, or
Right.
they do all this stuff. That's why it's like silly season now. It's before the draft. All these reports come out about this person sliding, that person sliding.
Mhm.
It's like a political game, political mind warfare they play with each other.
So are you telling me, Charlie,
Here he goes.
that
Here he
so you
goes.
tell me that the reports about Shedeur's swagger or his attitude are floated by people who actually want to draft him and want him to slip so they can get him?
Ask yourself, were these things known previous to April of 2025? I think
Some
they
of them,
were.
yeah.
I don't
You're
think
right.
he's done anything since
Yeah,
the end of the season.
I mean,
that would make
putting your
think that.
diamond Rolex in people's
Yeah.
faces, I think, is
And that
all.
was last season.
Right. I
You
think
know
that's
what I
about
mean?
all you need to know.
Yeah.
It wasn't the combine. Like he had some interviews, and it was apparently like his interviews. Like
He said he's gonna what did he say? What was the word?
he said he's going to change the culture wherever he
Yeah,
goes, and he has done that wherever he's gone, and he's going to
And
do it.
if
wherever
your
he goes.
dad's Dion, that's just expected.
Right.
He's been
For
listening
sure.
to this kind of stuff his whole entire life. Doesn't know any other way to operate. you
But
know?
I also think some of that too, like I do wonder, and I'm just curious about, like, we talk a lot about the NIL culture and how there's a lot of benefits, I think, to it. But then there's also like, I would kind of be an a-hole if I was a millionaire at 20. I really kind of would.
or 18 or 17.
Right. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think I would be, I think we're seeing, and it's not a bad thing. I think there's tons of benefits to NIL. Let me sit up. I look like a little tiny, like, oh my gosh.
Do you want
It
BK's booster?
Yeah, right. Oh my Lord. But I do think there's a lot of benefits to NIL. However, there's also the element of, I think so many of the athletes that love the game of football, but there are also are a lot of athletes that want to be successful in life, want to make money. When you already have the money, you're maybe less cautious about how you come off or
Mhm.
being in that
Yeah.
rookie, like,
Trying to impress people.
I'm trying to impress. I'm trying to say all the right things while I'm here. I'm trying to have the perfect, responses to these questions so that they like me, because you already have the money that you
Yeah.
would have gotten
Maybe
in
that's
your
a good
rookie
thing.
season. So there's benefits and there's like pros and cons to it all. But I do think this is kind of the direction that I think we're going to get a lot more Shedeurs out there that are flexing their rollies and
Right.
kind of have that ego that I'm not saying is a necessarily bad ego, but it's definitely there. I
Yeah.
think you're going to get more confident young
Well,
athletes.
and the
because of-
alternative is if when they weren't getting paid, you had guys running into people's dorm rooms stealing shit. and,
Right.
Like
there's of course for every good there's a bad.
Yeah,
Yes,
exactly.
Yes, absolutely. Well, with Shedeur, I think there's a lot of questions about. Well, and I do want to ask you one more time.
Yeah.
Talking about pro day, I know you're not a huge fan of the combine, or you don't necessarily think it's.
I don't think it's super
Mandatory.
necessary. It's become baked into the whole system and the routine.
I agree.
But at the same time, you have the tape.
Yep.
Everyone knows what kind of football player you are from seeing you there. And you have these pro days where the
Mhm.
scouts can come and see you up close and, weigh you, measure you, test you with a 40 and all that.
Yeah.
The combine, it just seems like this big meat market, and the ability for all the scouts and agents and everyone to get together and schmooze and go to the steakhouses and drink the things and talk the shop. But for the players, it's pretty intrusive,
Mhm.
like they're subjected to all these crazy medical tests and stuff like that, which, I guess that's fair game when you're applying for a job like this, but also, I don't know, I think it's a little much, and I think that they could probably do without it personally.
So,
But-
do you think there's
but it's
more
a
benefit to
moneymaker.
pro day?
So the thing about pro day is you're throwing, like if you're a quarterback,
Mhm.
you're throwing to your own guys,
Mhm.
your own receivers on your own field with your own ball and your
So it's just
backyard, and
Yeah.
you know how they're coming out of their breaks, and you know how you guys run these routes. Whereas in the combine, these guys are throwing to receivers they don't know,
Mhm.
and they're trying to get on the same page, and you can risk looking bad there
Yeah.
because, oh, that was a shitty throw. No, it wasn't. Like, I thought he was going to be here and he wasn't. We haven't played together before,
Mhm.
and this receiver coach told him to do this, and he, you know what I mean? So there's that. But I do think the combine is valuable, like Charlie was saying, with guys who are trying to move up in the draft and putting
Yeah.
you around other guys in your position so they can see you. Like, how do you handle a group of 15 guys from around the league or around the college who are like you, trying for the same job? What's your attitude like?
How do you change the culture?
Do you change the culture of that group?
Yeah.
But I think they could do without it, and I don't think the league would be any worse off.
Well, I think now it's like a money making deal now
Yeah.
for the NFL too.
Mhm.
But not everybody has the exposure of Shedeur or Travis and all these people. Some people need that exposure.
Yeah.
Some of these kids from smaller schools don't necessarily have teams that are coming to their practices every week either, or looking at their games every week either. So some people need it and some people don't. So it's like, how do you define who should go, who shouldn't? So they just invite everybody.
Did you go to the combine?
No, I tore my ACL my senior year of college, so I couldn't do anything
Oh, wow.
physically until,
So you were
That's summer.
rehabbing during that time?
yeah, I had surgery in probably January.
Oh, wow. So how did that affect your process when it comes to mini camp, like the draft?
Mini camp, I
Getting
don't think I did
signed, mini camp.
anything. I signed as a free agent. I don't think I did.
This was in
Mini-
2002 for you?
Yeah,
Wow, you're old, man.
yeah, right. I know.
Freaking grandpa over
I was,
here, am I right?
I was 4 years old when it was.
Stop it.
Yeah, no, 98. Yeah.
You
I
were
always
born
like
in
to.
1998.
I was.
That's the year I graduated high school. I got to get the hell out of here.
Yeah.
No, every time I'm on a show with Nate, he quizzes me about some movie that was
Well, because
like
she hasn't seen like the
classics.
most basic
It's
classic,
true.
and
It's
hasn't
true.
heard the like the most basic, like that kind of.
Right.
So he gives me a hard time, but then I can very quickly give him a hard time
That's
about
true.
the fact that
Well,
his knees probably squeak when he walks,
true.
and you
Yeah.
know
Probably doesn't know.
he's up there. So
Probably
I
doesn't know how
do
to
this every
update his
time I
phone.
sit down.
no, he does. Every time we're about to start the show, he sits down and he's like, I'm like, geez,
Yeah.
did you just
It's just-
hike a 14er? My
Feels
God.
like it. Feels like it.
Well, Shedeur, where's he going to end up? I've seen a lot of conversations about the Giants. That's what people are thinking, but the Giants are doing some weird stuff.
Yeah,
they
they
just
got
signed Russell, right?
Russell
Right.
and Jameis Winston.
That's why I'm
Oh,
like,
really?
so
Who
I'm
does the halftime inspirational speech among those two?
Oh,
You know what I
God.
mean? Like
God.
who's gonna
I'm
grab
putting
the mic?
earplugs in. I think I'm putting
Yeah.
earplugs in. If I'm that locker room, I'm not excited
Like,
about
could
that.
you imagine like our offensive line we were playing
Oh my
listening to
God.
one of those two
Yeah,
guys?
seriously.
Tommy Dale would like walk out of the room.
Our offensive line were like so like sarcastic, cynical, like
They wouldn't have
you
been
know,
about the.
FML type
Not
of
like
thing.
Well,
rah,
Russ
rah.
tries too
Yeah.
hard to sound like a Pinterest board, so they
Yeah.
would not have been. They'd have been like, dude, we're just trying to play football.
yeah.
Please, like, just hang it up.
Charlie, as a receiver, like in the huddle, like were you ever like I really need an inspirational speech for my quarterback right now? Like, did you respond well to that, or was it just like give me the play and let's go?
I don't recall that. It's just like if there was a big third down or a big drive, there may be some words like, we need
Come on,
this.
we
let's
need
go.
this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
something like that.
Not,
but
there are
there's
moments
not
in your
like a
life when you look
format-
at yourself
yeah.
in the mirror and you ask yourself one question: am I ready?
That's how
And
he
the answer is yes. Yes, you are. And as I look in each of your eyes, I know that this
It's
moment
like, dude,
the
the,
lamb game.
right.
Oh
The play clock is out, dude. Shut up. My gosh. No, that is actually hilarious. So I've seen the Giants as a big one, but
Yeah.
that doesn't really make sense now. Given
Well,
how
I
they've
don't think
been-
he's going to be playing his first year anyway. I don't think he's going to go somewhere and play right away.
You don't think?
Oh, okay. This is an
I
interesting
mean, if
conversation.
he's in, who did Cleveland just sign? Quarterback.
Did
They
they?
signed someone.
Not anybody good.
Was it April Fool's?
No,
Yeah, it wasn't-
I'm
no, it
kidding.
was someone because they
Was it on,
still have
PCI?
Deshaun, and then they have.
Who was it?
I
Well, I don't think
forget
it's
they
gonna
just
be-
signed someone.
I mean, if they draft
thought they
Shedeur,
did
he's
anyway.
gonna play. Anywhere he goes, he's gonna play, right? Unless he
I don't know.
unless he slips and he goes late and he ends up on a
Like
team.
if he
that's-
gets drafted by New York, he's not going to play. Not this season, unless Russell just sucks.
in 4 or 5 games when Russell does the,
Russ
That's
things.
not what he does.
When
He's going
Russ
to play
does
good for
Russell.
like 4 out of 6 games, then they can't, and then he'll
Yeah.
suck at the end of the
Yeah.
season.
That's
He
so
like
true.
he'll do it the right way, so he
He'll
doesn't
string
lose.
them along long
Exactly.
enough that it's like, oops,
Exactly.
our season's over and we
Yeah.
didn't win games. Got
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, I think, and with Jameis Winston there, it's also makes it a little weird.
That's what I'm
right?
saying.
Like,
The
'cause-
The Giants were making moves that didn't align with them getting Shedeur. So that's why
Yeah.
now I'm kind of thrown for
Yeah.
a loop here.
my thing like with Shedeur is, and I think that a lot of quarterbacks get screwed because they end up on bad teams with bad organizations who sucked the
Mhm.
previous year. Yes, they're high in the draft. They make a lot of money because of that, but their career is sort of doomed because they get labeled right off the bat as a bust or whatever, or don't have a lot of support. Their offense sucks. Their offensive line might be shitty. There's a reason why they were 3-13 or 3-14 the previous year. So I want Shedeur to slip to late in the first round. And I've seen I've seen a mock where he goes to the Steelers at 21.
I don't hate that at all.
I think that would be great for Shedeur Sanders.
Yeah.
Maybe he can sit behind Aaron Rodgers for a year.
Because Tomlin's got a little bit of swag.
Yeah, he does.
He's got a lot of swag.
And
He's got a little bit of swag that they can use
he can
together, I
handle that.
think.
he
Yeah.
can, he can handle it. They have a strong defense, a
Yep.
commitment to the running game.
Yep.
You don't have to put up 50 points a game.
hmm
You just have to play sound football. And, it's not all on you. Like, he's not going to be
Mhm.
asked to change the culture. And I think that would be like a lot of pressure on Shedeur if wherever he goes, he's going to be asked not just to play quarterback for that team, but to change the culture. Because, like, to me, and this is a different guy, and he's incredibly talented and he's special, but not a lot of young quarterbacks go and change a culture. Like, who has done that? Who's the last person who changed the culture of a team when he got there? Maybe Bo Nix, actually, sort of. But like
Jaden Daniels didn't really change the culture, but he definitely added some
contributed
swagger
to it,
over
right?
there.
But
yeah.
but
And he came at the same time as a head coach.
yeah,
too.
exactly. Dan
yeah.
Quinn.
So there was
who's,
a
like,
lot of changes over
changing
there. Yeah.
But like Caleb Williams didn't really change the culture there, did he? He actually it sucked for him there.
Yeah,
And
it's
he was a
not great.
surefire generational talent, number
Mhm.
one, paints his nails pink, doesn't care. That's not going to make him slip in the draft. Like, I'm the best player in this draft no matter what. And he
Mhm.
didn't play like it last year because he didn't have the support on that team. So I just want Shedeur to end up somewhere where he has the support and has a culture that's already in place that he doesn't feel like he has to change.
I agree with that. So you think the Steelers is the
I
place?
think that would be cool. Yeah, I think
I
that
just
would
don't think there's any way it gets to 21,
be. Yeah.
right?
Well, but Aaron Rodgers slipped to like the 20s, like, and he was supposed to go like top 5, top 10, and Alex Smith went number 1 that year.
Yeah.
You know, and then after that it slipped, and so people are saying this is a weak quarterback class.
that
And
might be a good slice of like a little bit of humble pie.
yeah.
To not go as high as you thought you were going to. I mean,
Yeah.
I remember, again, very different. Shedeur and Will Levis are not the same, but they kept cutting to Will Levis's face, and he was just like, I mean, you could tell he was
Yeah.
trying his best to be professional,
He's
but
just spooning mayonnaise in his mouth. And
that right there
That's
should have been
gross.
all we
Red
needed
flag,
to know.
yeah,
this guy's not
gonna
cut
it.
ginormous
Yeah.
red flag. Like
Yeah.
that's not okay. But it could be good for Shedeur, I think, to not
I
hear
just
his
wouldn't
name
go.
as
I
early.
just wouldn't go.
To the
You
draft.
know, linemen are just at home with their people on
Yeah.
the couch. It's like skill positions. I got to be in there in my suit and my chain and all this other shit.
Well, don't you think
It is-
Coach Prime and Shedeur are going to have something planned for that? They'll probably be
For
like
God's sake, of course.
doing something.
course.
Like they'll be in a
course.
freaking blimp or something. Like,
Hey!
No, they take a helicopter from his table
Yeah.
to the stage
yeah,
just to give a
they have
very
a
grand
drone
entrance.
drop him off in front of freaking
Literally,
Roger
yeah.
Goodell.
Yeah, I do think Steelers would be a good idea, but to your point, is it
Or the Raiders. You know, Raiders could take them.
yeah, wait. Who's there now?
Raiders at 6. They have Geno Smith.
And Pete
Tom
Carroll.
Brady.
Okay.
Tom Brady works with him his whole career.
But also,
That's true.
they need a running back, and there's
Genty.
rumor, that Ashton Genty might be a
But the
Raider.
GM just came on and said, my son said, if you don't draft this guy, you're crazy. So teams don't typically come out
Right,
and say that
say
about
that.
the guy you're drafting.
Yeah,
You know?
Maybe they're trying to throw us off.
Yeah,
that's
that's all they try
all.
to do.
Yeah,
And the
everyone's trying to
Broncos
do it.
will actually get Ashton Genty, and everything will be
That'd be
good in
awesome.
the universe.
That'd be awesome.
Broncos should trade up.
Broncos should trade up to what pick
Doesn't matter.
to get Ashton
Just-
Genty?
No, we don't want
I don't
anybody
care,
at 20.
just trade
Doesn't
up.
matter. Just trade up.
Do you know who was a number 20 pick for the Broncos who ended up being a Hall of Famer?
Nate Jackson.
Ha! Steve Atwater.
Oh, really? He's for 20 pick? I
Yeah.
didn't know that.
Yeah. You did. There's a lot of stuff you don't know, Charlie.
I don't believe it.
There's a lot of stuff you don't know.
Doubt
Well,
that.
what about okay? So what about Travis Hunter? Because we're going to bring on our friend Brandon Krisztal in about 5 or 10 minutes, and he's going to talk about the owners' meeting. And he actually had some conversations with some head coaches, GMs
Yeah.
that he thinks are pretty interesting, as do I. So we're going to talk to him about that as
Cool.
pertaining to the Broncos. But what about Travis Hunter's desire to play both ways in the NFL, Charlie? Do you think that could work? Like legit play both ways?
I think it could just because he's done it and there's more play. They play more plays. I know it's not the same skill level, but the guys are just as big. You know what I mean? He's going to be just as skinny as he is right now. And I think he could do it. I
Just as skinny?
Yeah. He's just like, he's going to be still the
He's
same
going to
size
try to
guy.
gain some weight, though.
Yeah. Well,
He's got it.
whatever it is, he has the ability to do it. He's already proved. So it's just whether a team's willing to take that risk, doubling his injury risk, playing both ways. And, a lot of money will be invested in the top 4 pick,
Well, what about the meeting room stuff? Because this is like, I agree with you 100%. Physically, he can do it on the field. But how do you break up his day? Because, when we're receivers, we're with the receivers all day. And everything we're learning and watching film on is relevant, right? Like, technically speaking, like, you got to know this stuff, or at least the nuance of it. Like when we're watching film
Yeah.
of Rod Smith running routes and we're watching 101s, we're learning when we're hearing from coach, right?
Yeah.
But maybe he's just so good that he doesn't necessarily need all that
Yeah, I
little
mean,
coaching.
it's like it's just going to be a thing they have to figure out because no one's ever
But
done
if
it,
he's out there on the
you know?
field,
And if he's
as
on
a
defense,
receiver,
they'll probably have a package of things. He's not going to have to, it's going to be man-to-man coverage. I don't think it'll be every down type defensive
On
person.
defense?
Yeah. I don't think
a
it should
rotating
be.
corner, like what is it, nickel corner? Or is
Maybe
it
a nickel, maybe just, if he needs a big third down, they'll figure it out. But
what about receiver, like the mental load, of knowing the entire playbook, and then like 2-minute and like situational stuff, like all of a sudden he's out there in 2-minute and he's like,
some guys just have the ability to absorb it and not have to study it a lot.
he's super smart.
Some
apparently.
guys just have that.
Yeah.
And the ones that don't. And they don't last very long and they don't play very fast. You know what I mean? They play slow like they're thinking. If he's a guy that can absorb information, then he can soak it up and move on to other things. But I don't know him on that level, but he seems like, he's a high football IQ.
Yeah. And he's a gamer, just like you, Charlie.
Yeah, there's only a handful of us.
What do you
out
play?
there.
Fortnite? What do you play?
Are
I've
you-
never
is
played
he
that
actually a
kid.
gamer?
No, are you?
No.
FIFA. He used to play. We used to get into some epic
Yeah.
FIFA.
Used to beat
Soccer
him
back.
down in FIFA.
Did you I don't know if you guys saw this. I saw a little like article or whatever that Debo Samuel is like in the leaderboards, like all-time
Like Call of
leaderboards for
Duty or something?
2K.
Really?
Uh-huh.
Really?
Which I
Where do you
I can
find the
tell you
time?
again, I can tell you that after we would be done filming our show on his day off on Tuesdays, I would leave, call my Uber, we would get out of there, me and the crew, and he would be right in his room playing
wow.
2K. Yeah.
Really?
Dedicated.
He really, yeah. But I think it's, I think you guys can probably speak to this. I think you have your things during the season that kind of keep you sane.
Yeah.
Apparently it's 2K for Debo.
Yeah, gets his mind off of everything.
Yeah.
Right?
Disconnect a little bit.
Yeah.
Now he's really, but of course everyone was making memes like,
2K, huh?
why is this, when you have
Right.
when you have a not so
Yeah.
like you're not
Not
your
good
best
season.
season,
Yeah.
and then you're in the leaderboard, the people are like, what?
Yeah.
But
You can't do anything fun if you're not winning games. You have to sit home and think about the loss and be studying a book.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
be
you don't
miserable,
care.
just hate your life.
Yeah, like people could see you at the grocery store and they'll be like, "Shouldn't you be at home studying your playbook?" Like,
I'm literally getting protein.
trying to eat.
I'm
man.
getting my gains.
Trying to
Can you
eat,
leave me
man.
alone? Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
Well, it looks like we might have our very special guest, BK, that's ready to hop on and join us and talk a little bit about the owners meeting, like you mentioned.
Yeah, let's bring him on, our very own Brandon Krisztal. Hey, Brandon.
Hey, what's up? It's good to talk to Char, the unofficial mayor of Denver.
What's up, BK?
Hey, buddy. What's going on, guys? Yeah, y'all are talking a lot about the pro day. It's going to be really interesting to see who's there tomorrow. Nate, you and I are planning on being there. It's a busy day with opening day and perhaps a snowstorm, but all 32 teams are going to be there. I talked to a couple clubs trying to figure out which groups of people will be there. I know the Titans, who sent their entire front office, head coach Brian Callahan, former Broncos assistant, as well as GM Mike Borgonzi, who just came over from the Chiefs, and president of football operations Chad Brinker, who's kind of above both of those guys. They were all in Miami, plus the quarterback's coach, and so they all went to see Cam Ward, and I think they have a very high opinion. Those predictions seem to be like they might come true. Nonetheless, they will be there. Head coach Brian Callahan will not, but it's my understanding that there is a private workout coming sometime next week, in the early part of next week.
So are they all there to see Shedeur? Or I mean, what's the word on the street? Is Travis Hunter going to do test? Is he going to do probably has no reason to run the 40, right, or anything like that? What do we expect to see there?
I think we expect to see Travis Hunter maybe do a TV interview with NFL Network, as Steve Weish and Brian Baldinger are going to be there to
Baldy.
broadcast from 12:30 to 2:30.
Have you ever seen Baldy's fingers?
I have.
They go like every which way, dude. That dude's fingers are mangled.
Yeah, one finger's going this way, the other one's going that way. It's
Yeah,
great. It's crazy. But so Baldy and Steve Weish, because Steve was down in Florida at the owners' meetings, and I was like, hey, who's going to be there hosting the coverage? He said it's going to be me and Baldy. So those guys will be there. So I expect we'll see Travis Hunter there talking to those guys. But I reached out to somebody at CU to see what was going on. Shedeur is going to work out and is going to go through a throwing routine. I think maybe even less for showing what he can do and more for his guys, for LeJontay Wester, for Jimmy Horn Jr., and for Will Shepherd, who didn't get to go to the combine but played really well down at the Shrine Bowl. So we will see some stuff from Shedeur. I doubt we see him run because it'll just remind people that he got a speed from his mom and not his dad. But it's going to be a bit of a circus because Dion doesn't do anything small. So I'm sure we'll see a lot of their team there kind of watching it with the 14 guys working out, or 13 if Travis doesn't work out. And then we'll see Hall of Famer Marshall Faulk and Warren Sapp. And I wouldn't be surprised if those guys jump on the broadcast because they're going to want to remind people that that's who their coaching staff is made up of, not just Coach Prime, but some other Hall of Famers and guys that have been around the league forever.
So you were at the owners' meeting, BK, last week on your birthday as well. So that's dedication on your part. Kudos to you for going out there during your birthday. But you had some conversations with some GMs, with some coaches, particularly interesting to Broncos fans because you talked to some guys that, well, Denver Broncos fans are familiar with, that coach and GM for the Niners, about some of the Broncos' new acquisitions. Can you talk a little bit about those conversations that you had?
Yeah, and though, I was expecting to see John. The way it works is obviously, like we kind of talked about Monday when I joined you, coaches do the coaches' breakfast. So we knew Kyle would talk on the record. the GMs of each team and owners or even team presidents, they tend to only talk to their local media, might talk to some national on the side. But I understand I have a good relationship with people like John Lynch and, Moods, Darren Moody, the new Jets GM, but you're not necessarily going to get them to sit down on the record, on camera. So I knew I'd run into John, but then it's kind of been a comedy of errors because I have this helmet signed by almost all the Broncos Hall of Famers except for Peyton now and Randy Gradishar. And I've been talking to John about
it on, Brandon? And do the rest of this interview.
Great. But so John and I were supposed to connect on it earlier. Then I had it at the combine, and it was funny because his staff was like, I'm telling you a longer story than I need to, but they're like, oh, he's too busy. He's just got to go send it to the facility. And I'm like, you saw me talking to John last night, who said to bring it over. But I'm like, okay, I'll respect your request. I put it back at the table where we were broadcasting from when I talked to you guys from down there. And then John stops by all the autograph seekers. There's like a corral of autograph seekers like 50 feet away. And he's like, hey, BK, do you have that? Do you have that helmet? I was like, no. Anyway, so got that, but then got some time with John just to kind of shoot the shit and see what was going on, but did ask him about Greenlaw and Hufanga, and he kind of talked through the story of getting to going down to Texas to try to re-recruit Dre Greenlaw, but understood why Dre ended up making the decision that he did. If you saw the quotes in the Denver Post when he talked to their new number 2 football reporter, where he said if they really wanted me, they would have offered me the deal ahead of time and not come at the last minute trying to save it. So, John was obviously.
If you really cared, you'd be here right off the bat. If you liked it, then you would have put a ring on it.
Yeah, or you wouldn't have even let it get to free agency. They could have negotiated with them before the first 2 days of that tampering period. And so
why did they do that? Why did they fly out there and act like they wanted him so bad if they didn't handle it right off the bat, BK?
I think that the sense I get talking with those guys a little bit and then talking to the people around the team and some of the folks that cover the team was that they thought they'd maybe be able to get him back, that there was a loyalty and his relationship with Fred Warner being so close to Fred and them working so well together and going through the rehab and coming close with the Super Bowl loss and all that they would be able to get him back maybe more easily or match whatever offer was out there. And I think even though they got there financially, it was more, why didn't you offer this ahead of time? And we were saying some teams will let you test the market and say, hey, just go see what your value is, but please come back and talk to us. We saw it on TV last year with Joe Shane and the Giants and the Saquon thing. But it doesn't always go that smoothly. And they say, hey, if you let me just make the offer off the top and know where the market's going to be. But so then, Kyle talked on the record, and I put some of that video out on Twitter earlier, and it's out there, saying how much he likes Greenlaw, saying it was the first time they'd ever gotten on a plane to go re-recruit one of their own free agents or maybe even any free agent. But then I was able to catch up with Kyle later on, kind of as the meetings were ending and after Goodell talked and just without even prompting, he's like, dude, you guys, he's like, and he almost stopped him. So I was like, Greenlaw, man, this is without asking. I actually had my mom and kids there, as I had mentioned, and Kyle being a Longhorn, I was like, hey, Kyle, so my mom, Sheila, she's a Longhorn. She's like, oh, hook him. And she and the kids keep walking. And he's like, man, Greenlaw. And then he just kept going and go. You can tell you've been around enough coaches to know the players they love and that they love coaching and love having in the building. Because when you ask Kyle about some other players, you ask a coach about other, you'll get the varying answers. It was obvious that losing Greenlaw certainly hurts more than Hufanga. I think the football part with Hufanga, they're just worried about the injuries. They would have liked to have had him back, but they aren't losing sleep. I think the Greenlaw one felt like that's one where especially if he has success and plays really well and is healthy, that's going to sting even more. And they're going to see him out there if he's ready to go and Hufanga ready to go at training camp. And we think they will be. Got joint practices in San Fran, so it's going to sting in person in the preseason. But that's one that got away that I think Kyle really did lose sleep on.
It always sucks to run into your ex for the first time,
Yeah.
Especially if you look better than they do.
Yeah.
Ooh, I love it. I love it.
And the Niners don't look great right now.
No, they don't.
They had a tough season.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
The ex might be stunting on
Everybody's
them
leaving.
bit.
Everybody's leaving.
Not good. Not good at all.
All right, BK. So there was a lot of stuff discussed also at the owners' meetings. Something that's interesting to people around here and kind of divisive as well is the idea of a new stadium. What was the talk about a new stadium for the Broncos if there was one?
Yeah, it's really fascinating because the sense I get is the Broncos don't have a game plan with a final decision. They have a lot of working plans, if you will. And so found out a little more about the Aurora thing that was mentioned by Greg Penner, was able to dig deeper on that. And wasn't
Where in
exactly.
Aurora?
I think up towards the airport, Aurora, not
Okay.
Arapahoe and Parker, Aurora was the sense I got. Obviously, Aurora's laid out crazily and maybe somewhere in between, but not just east of Cherry Creek Reservoir either. They're not going to knock down that hotel there at 225 in Parker and put it there, but further out. And so whether it's there or in Lone Tree or in a power field at Mile High, not at the site, but essentially where McNichols was. So, you know, we've all seen the picture of old Mile High and new Mile High when they're both basically on top of each other. And so they would do that same thing because to build the stadium they want to build, and while they wouldn't come out and just acknowledge, yeah, we're going to have some sort of roof on it, they're not building a new stadium just to have a new stadium and not host Super Bowls and Final Fours and every Taylor Swift style concert and everything else that comes through and UFC huge fights and WrestleMania. They're going to have some sort of covered roof. The question is the mechanics of it. Is it a full dome? Is it retractable? Do they spend more money than anyone's ever spent and make it the coolest retractable roof ever? We know that they like being first in everything, being the best team, as Greg and Kerry always say, the best team to play for, work for, and cheer for. And so I think that would extend to the stadium. But they would put it where McNichols is right now. So not where the old Mile High was, where the new mini Mile High is, but basically that southwest side. So just kind of jutted up against Colfax or a little north. That kind of where the players' parking lot is and that big tailgate lot. That's kind of where the bulk of the stadium would be. And I guess they would have to build it out. But like they couldn't play in Boulder for 48 months, you know, over the course of 48 months or, you know, as many international games as you'd want to have on a schedule. You can't do more than one, maybe two a year like the Rams did when they were building their new stadium that one season where they had 2 games in Europe or international. So they don't know which direction they want to go. And there's not a sense of urgency other than they would like to start to have a plan. But then there's a lot of factors that go into how big is it? Because you may not be able to have 76,000 fans in there. You may be at 68. What's that mean for season ticket holders? Do you do suites all the way around the field or do you only do suites in the end zone? Do you have one field club? Do you have 2? Do you have huge standing room like in Dallas and Vegas? So all of this.
I just keep hearing dollar signs.
Well,
It's
not going to be cheap, but I don't know if there's a consensus. That's one thing Damani Leach brought up, that when they did their research, they got answers across the board from what people wanted. But 65% of their ticket base and specifically season ticket holders are kind of on the south side of town. You know, when you look across south side of Jeffco, Arapahoe County, Douglas County, and then, you know, all the way kind of across 470 before and after, obviously Cherry Hills and all that. But that's where the bulk of their ticket money comes from. And also with Colorado Springs growing and the connection between essentially Castle Rock and Monument and now Colorado Springs, it's even more money on the south side of town. So they are certainly aware of that, which makes me think that Lone Tree might be in the driver's seat ahead of Aurora at least. But there is something about the civic pride in being downtown. And also, does Aurora give them such a better deal in terms of the land or tax benefits that they can't say no? And so I think that it all factors in. It makes me feel like we're not going to get an announcement even before next year's owners meetings. It's probably 18 months out at the earliest.
Yeah, so there could be a new stadium, but there might not. But if there is, it could be anywhere.
Oh, well, there will be a new stadium. That's the sense I get. They're not staying in this stadium forever. Because one thing Greg Penner said was, we need to think about the next 40 or 50 years. And Roger Goodell touched on that too, that it's a generational decision. He was talking about the Bears when asked about it, but he's like, stadiums are generational decisions because they really are. And you guys played at what was then Invesco and now in Power Field at Mile High. And I think it certainly still holds up. They put $100 million into it right off the bat. And I think it would be fine for another 20 or 30 years. But when you look at truly trying to keep up with the Joneses, in this case, Jerry Jones and their cousins, the Cronkies, and Vegas, who's in your division, and see what's happening in Nashville and what'll happen in Chicago eventually, you want something new and cool too. Like your reliable Mercedes that's 10 years old is awesome, but the brand new Mercedes is even cooler. And so I think that's why a new stadium feels inevitable, just like a covered roof feels inevitable. I just don't think the announcement is imminent.
Well, good stuff, BK. We want to thank you for joining us. You're going to be out there at the Pro Day tomorrow, right?
Yeah, I'll be out there. And if the weather forecast turns as bad as it is, you and I will get to hang out all the way through the workout, and I'm not even going to worry about Rocky's opening day.
Yeah, so do they have a plan if it rains and stuff, or does this still happen? Is there an indoor place they can do this?
Oh, the Pro Day? I think they're doing the Pro Day in the field house anyway.
Okay. Cool,
Yeah,
cool.
so that's going to be in the Champion Center in the field house. So weather won't be an issue at all at the pro day, but it could be a very big issue for the 250,000 people that like to pack Lodo on opening day because we know what a big celebration it is. Even if
Charlie's going to be
those
one of them.
people.
Yeah.
one win. Oh, Charlie will be there. Yeah, Charlie.
No,
Look him
I'm not going to
the.
the game though. I'm just going to
Yeah.
oversee.
Yeah. He's
Well,
going to
that'll
the
still go
festivities. Big
okay.
game.
Although outside tailgating may be cold in some of those parking lots or snowy or wet, but all the bars will still be a fun place
Yeah,
to be tomorrow.
I'll be indoor tailgating.
Yeah.
Enjoy your day off, and if there's a baseball game, great. But if not, you can watch the CU Pro Day either way. You can do it both because
I always say if you're
12:30
cold, just drink more.
Yeah.
210 I think is scheduled.
outside.
They could also slide the first pitch with more bad weather later in the day. Either way, we know it's fun down there, and I think Nate, you and I will have some fun up in Boulder as well, seeing the Buffs, even if Travis Hunter's just there as a glorified spectator like us.
Well, we always have fun when you join us, Brandon. So thanks for joining us, man. You have yourself a good day. We'll check in with you next time.
Sounds great.
Bye, BK.
Thanks,
Bye,
dude.
Brandon.
Later.
Awesome. Well, it sounds like, let me ask your guys' opinion as former, current. Okay, look at me when I sit back. Oh
Slouch
my
down a
gosh.
little more.
She like, yeah.
You
oh
need
my
the
gosh.
booster pillow. Like, where'd the lightning bolt
Right.
pillow
I know
go?
it's gone. But I do want to ask you guys about your thoughts on a dome.
I don't like it.
I was just gonna say, okay,
It's freaking Denver. Like,
let me tell you something. When I did an interview with we did an interview with George Kittle, and I asked him, like, do you think, because I think maybe the next week they had to play in Buffalo, and I was like, oh, how are you guys feeling? They definitely have spoiled brat syndrome playing in California, which is not their fault, but they are like, he was like, oh, every stadium, Kittle's like, every stadium should have a dome. And I'm like, yeah, but you know what those winter teams have is an advantage over the Californians coming in their Hawaiian shirts being like, oh my gosh, what is this? So if you made every stadium a dome, there's no longer that like X factor of we know how to play in snow and you don't. And so I don't know how I feel about that.
I think they should put it, for the reasons Brandon said, Super Bowls, Final Fours, all that. Just never close it for Broncos games. Just leave it open.
Yeah.
We still have our advantage. We still get the concerts, the shows, all this stuff, but just never close it. It's not even an option. If it's raining, let it rain. If it snows, let it snow. Just don't close it.
Yeah. I mean, I will say selfishly as a fan who likes to sometimes get blowouts on her hair and stuff, I would certainly love the dome personally, just as a fan sitting there. Yeah, of course. Who wouldn't? But the edge that it gives the Broncos, it's almost like the altitude thing. I mean, we can never really get rid of the altitude thing. That's going to be here forever. But
we always had that advantage.
Yeah, there's like advantages that you have on your home field.
Like in the Shanahan era, the Broncos had the best home field advantage in the league. And I think some of that was altitude. Some of that was good football teams. That helps too. You know what I mean? And a good fan base and a good game day environment. But I agree with you. Like the home field advantage would take a little bit of a hit there. And like I, as a football player, don't mind playing in the elements. Like I'm not, it's weird when you're playing, you're like your adrenaline's going so fast. It might be -2 degrees, but guys are in short sleeves. Like they don't really feel that until you're standing on the sideline, like, and you get a little cold. But when you're out on the field moving around, you don't really notice that stuff. And it makes it more interesting, I think. And also like the new stadium, it's going to cost a couple $2 billion. Are you guys going to?
Gosh, that is so much money.
Yeah. I think SoFi cost like $5 billion or something crazy like that.
Bless you, Andy.
Is she still sneezing?
She is.
Last week she was coughing. Now she's sneezing. So.
Oh, it was John. Bless you, John.
Bless you. Bless your heart, child. No, but like the brand new stadium is super expensive. The Walton Penner Group is super rich, but are they going to ask for taxpayer money?
Of course.
And then how's that going to is that going to rub us all wrong here? These guys are worth $70 billion. Why don't you just pull it out of the cushions of your couch and pay for the new stadium?
Right.
You want,
sorry guys, I have student loans that need to be addressed.
Exactly.
I can't be helping you.
There's going to be an extra tax added onto everything around here to pay for that stadium. So are you going to be cool with that? Also, it's going to price out once the stadium is built. The tickets prices are going to be way more expensive. So it's going to price out some of the hardcore fans who've been here since day one, since the 60s, since the Broncos sucked.
Right.
And all of a sudden, there's a new stadium, and they can't afford that. And like everything is going to go up. The price of concession is going to go up. Parking is going to go up. Everything is going to go up at a new stadium.
I love our stadium, honestly.
I love it too.
It's got so much charm, and it's just, and honestly, they've done their own like little I don't want to say renovations, but they've zhuzhed it up, especially with like some of the food on the
Yeah.
main concourse. Like
Yeah.
I think it's a wonderful stadium.
I do
I
too.
love
It's great.
it.
It's, only
And
There's a lot of
20
charm
it's like
there.
25 years old. It's not
Yeah, it's not that
Yeah.
old. And my friends who come into town to see games, they're like, this place is awesome. There's not
Yeah.
a bad seat in the house because I put them up in the nosebleeds. No, I'm kidding. But there's not a bad seat in the house, really.
There isn't.
And it's a great game day atmosphere. BK, throw that comment up there by Brandon Krisztal. He says, alas, there's no league mandate to cover the field other than on Super Bowl Sunday. The reason they close it in Houston or Indy or Dallas is because of humidity. We don't have that.
We don't.
No, we don't.
We
It's very
actually
dry.
have the exact
Yeah.
opposite problem here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of charm into the stadium that we've got that's been standing strong for a couple of decades now. And also, you know, there's just something about walking into a stadium and feeling all the ghosts of losing seasons past and
Yeah.
and then feeling the rejuvenation of the new Broncos. Like, it's nostalgic.
Yeah.
Because even when the Broncos were horrible, you still had people going to the games, and there's just a lot of memories there. I don't know. I'm
I
weird
agree.
like that. Like, honestly, I got a little emotional when I got rid of my first car.
Mm.
Oh, really?
It's like, how many breakups did I cry over in this car?
What was the car?
It was a Volkswagen Jetta.
You drove a Jetta.
I did. She was so cute.
yeah.
Actually, I had 2 Jettas technically, because the
Oh.
first one my parents got me, I let my brother with his very fresh new license drive my car.
You
And
crashed it?
he called my mom's phone and I answered it. And he's like, put mom on the phone. I'm like, what do you need? She's standing right here. I can ask her. And he's like, put her on the phone. And then she got on the phone and she's like, so I'm going to go. I'm like, what? And she's like, he might have crashed your car. I'm like,
Oh,
might have? No.
no.
It sounded like he did. And it was total. It was black ice. Like, it was one of those, you know, really bad Colorado. But yeah, I was
He
a
was
Jetta
okay.
girl. I didn't really care at that moment, to be honest. But yes, he's fine. You guys, he's
How's
fine,
the car?
all right?
Screw
Yeah.
it. Screw you.
But no,
You
that
don't wait, so you don't drive. Is there like, do they still make Jettas?
yeah, Jettas are great cars. Like, honestly, I just upgraded because I was like proud of my job and making my money and saving. So I got myself a nice little bougie ride, but I love my Jetta.
Have you ever met a man who drives a Jetta?
I don't think I have.
It's such a girl car.
I don't think I have, actually.
Back in the day before you were born, have you heard of the cabriolet?
No.
The cabriolet.
no.
You know the cabriolet?
Of course.
Cabriolet was like a girl car.
Definitely.
It's
convertible, like
yeah, a little
Jetta.
convertible like Volkswagen looking thing.
something
Yeah,
smaller
see,
than a Jetta.
I love
Yeah.
the Jettas were great. And then if you were like extra bougie and you got the Passat, that
Oh,
was
yeah.
like
It's like the upgrade.
that was like the upgraded
Yeah.
Jetta. But my Jetta she never gave me any problems. She was perfect.
So what's the new version of the Jetta? Is there like
They still have Jettas.
I
no, like
get-
I guess the new version. What's the new girl car? Like, is there a
New
actually
girl
the
car.
kids don't even drive anymore. They don't even want to leave their house. They don't get their driver's license. Like I have a niece who's
Really?
17. She's about to
I could
graduate.
not wait to get my license.
They don't do that anymore. They're not into driving anymore because they have their phones. They get Uber and shit.
Also, my mom was like, "You're getting your effing license. I am
Yeah,
sick of driving you
get
to
out of this
dance. I am
house."
sick
Yeah.
of taking you to school. I am done. You are getting." My parents were like eager for me to pass that test because
yeah,
I mean, my mom has 4. My parents both have 4 kids.
Well,
I
look-
say my mom because my mom was typically the carpooler.
Yeah.
You know, dad was working all day, and she was the one that was like,
handling the kiddos.
I was like, "Mom, what's for dinner? Taco Bell. It's on the way." I'm like, "Yum, joy, woo! Get to dance with a full stomach of Taco Bell. That's fantastic."
But
But
when you're young, you can
made
eat
it work.
whatever. You can eat
it
whatever.
was perfect. It
Yeah.
was perfect.
Like
But
I
yeah,
would eat so much fast food.
I was a Jetta girl.
Our buddy Rod Smith, who's our mentor, kind of idol as receivers,
Yeah.
was 10 years older than us and was just like Super Bowl champion, Pro Bowler, did everything right on and off the field. But he ate Burger King like right before the game. Like his pregame meal was like Burger King, chicken sandwich, fries,
See,
and drink.
Yeah,
Everyone's
the
got
best
their
one.
thing.
Yeah, and then he would just come in and crush the game and like be like the MVP of the game. It was so like you'd be surprised how many guys. And I think the nutrition thing has changed
For
over
sure.
the years.
Well,
the
it
fact
hasn't Ocho Cinco been very transparent about
Yeah,
like
McDonald's.
McDonald's is like
Yeah.
his
Yeah.
go-to,
Still,
which
But we also ate like shit. Like we had pizza and Popeyes on Fridays after practice. On Saturday, the night before the game, we would have a late dinner, and then we'd have a late night snack after meetings at like 9:30, and that would be
Yeah.
like ice cream, chicken wings. You could have more
Beers.
burgers, cookies, beers. If like
I know you said that if you weren't like dressing out,
Yeah.
there were donuts.
on game day,
Yeah,
in the locker
on
room.
game day in the locker
and
room.
if
Yeah.
if I was down and I wasn't active, I was eating those donuts.
You
I
said,
was
"Give me that
drinking
donut right now."
chocolate, yeah, hot chocolate, just like
I will say the most depressing moment I think that I have ran into as an adult now is the moment I realized I couldn't eat whatever I wanted and not see the results of that.
See, Charlie doesn't
I
have
had
that
a
problem.
moment. See, I had a moment, and it was in college because I was dancing in college, like dancing for 4-hour football games in the Texas heat. And we danced at baseball games. We danced at both men's and women's basketball games. So it's a full-time
Damn.
sport out there. And it was a huge, huge time commitment. And we worked out, we had trainers. It was all the things. And I'd be like, why don't I look stronger? Why don't I look better? Well, you're asking yourself that in the In-N-Out drive-through for the third time this week. Like, come on, you gotta start being a little self-aware here. So yeah, the moment I realized I couldn't just eat, because when I was younger, Taco Bell,
Whatever, yeah.
Jimmy John's,
Yeah.
Baja Fresh.
Well, maybe
Sounds good.
if we start a Guerrilla Sports dance team, then we can go back to eating whatever we want.
That's maybe
Because
true.
we'll be dancing so much. Charlie, would you like to be a part of our dance team?
Yeah, I could do a little two-step on the side.
You did that little breakdancing
I can
video
dance,
earlier.
man.
I
I
was
mean,
just
I
gonna
used to be in
say,
the middle, in the circle, like in middle school, like when they would a dance thing would break out, one person would go
You
in
were
the
the pick
circle.
me.
I didn't.
You said
start
everyone
it.
watch me.
No, but I was one of the kids who would get in there and do it, and I was like
And
a
took
little
it
b-boy
really
back in
serious.
the, a little break dancer a little bit.
You
I
did it all.
avoided the middle of the circle.
Yeah,
I
no, I know.
avoided it.
That doesn't surprise me at all.
no.
Nate was
Yeah.
in it. And
Yeah, no,
Charlie's like,
Charlie
"Go
doesn't
ahead."
want any attention
good.
ever. No,
Not
he's so
that
shy.
kind of attention. No.
When are you running for mayor? Have you
Huh?
thought about getting into
We
politics?
have an exploratory campaign. out
Yeah,
there.
yeah, there's a committee looking
yeah,
into it.
Exploratory committee.
Charlie, before we get out of here, I want your perspective on Bo Nix, the quarterback of the Denver Broncos, his rookie campaign, what you think he can improve on, just your thoughts on like how he assimilated, how he came in and kind of took leadership role, and what your expectations are for him going forward.
Obviously, I think it was a successful rookie year. It's clearly started out slow. I think they were asking him to do a lot in the beginning. And I mean, he did a lot all throughout the year, but in the beginning, it was he was trying to force a lot. I think a running game will really help him in the second season. They didn't do a lot of play action passing, which I think helps any quarterback, any running game. But he played above his age. I know he's a little older than most rookies, but I think he played above his years in the league for sure. But I think he's got, if not for those first few games, he'd be pushing Jaden Daniels for rookie.
He
year.
was, he had a kind of late push, and then he had
The race got tight there in the middle.
but then Jaden Daniels had some like
They just had these like
games.
crazy games where he like wins at the end and all that stuff.
It was
so.
more, I think, towards the end of the season, it was less about Bo Nix not proving he was the offensive rookie of the year, but it was Jaden Daniels just like
He was already
doubling
going
down.
above and beyond. Yeah.
Jaden Daniels just did some very impressive things. Honestly, I think that game, was it against the Bears?
The Hail Mary.
The Hail Mary.
Yeah.
That was kind of one of those moments where people were like,
Oh wow.
Yeah.
There's
like,
some magic
we knew he was
there.
good,
Yeah.
but he's got like
And I had
that extra something.
I had a
going
futures bet on that, and
Oh, that hit
I could have on
on
Bo
Bo.
Nix.
Oh, on Bo.
I did
I had
too.
a cash
I did
out. That was
too.
a couple $100 when he was like
I did too.
leading. I was like, I'm gonna let it ride.
Yeah, I felt very confident, so I let mine
Me
ride
too.
too. And then by the end of it, they're like, cash
No
out for
cash out.
$0.
Yeah.
I was like,
No.
yeah, well, there we go.
It's like
I do
idiot.
think, towards the end there, Jaden Daniels was just like tripling down on
Yeah.
his position as the offensive rookie of the year.
And you know what? For Bo to be in the hunt and actually be second in the voting there, pretty awesome. He was the sixth
Super
quarterback
awesome.
taken.
Super awesome.
And a lot of people thought that the Broncos were overreaching drafting him at 12. I didn't think that. And in fact, when I saw him on the same field with Shedeur a couple of years ago, and Oregon absolutely crushed the Buffs, and I know Oregon had a better team, but Bo looked like the better quarterback too, like more technical,
more poised
in the pocket,
Mhm.
and it's what Sean Payton loves about him, that he gets rid of the ball fast. He doesn't take
Yeah.
sacks. He doesn't throw interceptions. He protects the ball, and that's what Russell couldn't do.
Yeah. Oof,
you know?
gosh. Wow.
Russell relative to
Relative to
that Sean Payton says relative to a lot.
I know.
all the time.
That's good.
All
How
the
would you?
time.
What's your thoughts on Sean Payton?
I like him,
Yeah.
but I like old school coaches that
Yeah.
yell at you and demand a lot of you. I like it because I'm not gonna. These kids today are different. So
Yeah.
I think.
Oh no, I
that,
can say it because they're soft.
Yeah, these
Okay.
kids.
It's just
These
that simple.
kids these
No, you know what's so
days.
funny? I really do think I was like the last of the era where you could say whatever. I mean,
Yeah.
I flash myself back to the things that coaches used to say to me that I was like, yeah, I for sure hurt my feelings, but guess what? I never did that thing again because I
Exactly.
didn't want my feelings to be hurt. And
Correct.
now I talk with coaches and instructors and whoever about well, we can't do that because it's, and
Yeah.
I'm like, because it's what?
Yeah.
Because we're in the soft era of
Yeah.
life, and we really
And they'll
are.
just transfer. They'll just leave if you yell at them too much.
Exactly.
in
But
college.
again, I also think that starts at home.
That's the thing.
Sadly. And it's really, and I don't like to say that because I am not a parent yet, and I know how difficult it is, and I also don't know what my kids will be like and how I will have to evolve as a parent, because I will say, as the oldest of 4, me and my youngest sister of 12, she's 12 years younger than me, are the same person. My brother and my sister in the middle are the same person, and we both separately could not be more different. So how my mom parented my sister, my middle sister, is very different from how she could parent my younger sister, but the fundamentals stayed the same. You know, there was never like, oh, well, because you're a little bit more sensitive, I'm not going to hold you to the same standard. It was just my delivery may have to change.
Yeah.
But I think now you've got parents that are like, oh, you're sad and sensitive and I just made you cry. So like, oh, just forget the standard then, like just do whatever. And
Yeah.
it's like, that's where we're starting to see these
Yeah.
kids just not being able to
Yeah.
take accountability and be held responsible for, guess what? When you screw up in practice,
Yeah.
you screwed up in practice.
Yeah.
It is what it is, you know, but we don't have that anymore, sadly.
Like it sucks when I'm stern with my son and he gets all sad and does this weird lip
Of
thing and walks
course!
around in the
It's
corner and sits by
horrible.
himself and hides from me. But like I still have to say those things. I
Yeah.
can't let him be a little, you know what, or not listen, or just make a mess and walk away from it, or just drop his thing here. I have to tell him. But then if he's not listening, I'm going to talk a little more like this, and then he gets all scared. He does
And
the
it
lip
is
thing and he
devastating.
walks.
It's
And
horrible.
I'm like, but he has to hear it, right?
Mhm.
And as parents,
yeah.
we have to give those messages. Obviously, the delivery is important.
I get sad when I reprimand my dog
Really?
because she tucks her ears and she looks at me like, I didn't mean to. And I'm like, oh God, here we go. So when I have kids, I already know it's going to be a problem. Like it's going to be hard for me to be that stern, but I also
No, it
was
won't.
raised
It
that.
won't. It
Yeah,
won't be
I'm
hard.
kind of an a-hole. So
No, you're not an a-hole, but you
No, I
know how
am.
you want it to look, right?
No,
And
I
so
am.
then you got to fight those little
But I'm
fights.
also the same way with my relationships and my friendships, where I hold my friends to a very high standard. I'm always the friend that they come to last when it's like, okay, it's time for me to hear the truth. Everyone
Right.
else has been blowing smoke in my butt. Like,
Right.
what's the reality? And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, well, the reality is you're being a moron right now. That's
Yeah.
what the reality
Yep.
is. So I'm always the friend that's given the hard, honest to God's truth. But I also want that in return.
Yeah.
If you
Yeah.
see me like doing something that you know I shouldn't be doing, don't just let me do it.
Okay.
So I don't ever hold people to a standard I don't also hold myself
Right.
to,
Yep.
you know?
And that's Sean Payton, you know, and that's
There you go.
And he has an incredibly high standard of excellence. He wants to see it a certain way, and if he doesn't, he's not happy. Even after wins, he wasn't happy sometimes because they won ugly. And so that's what's going to make you a good football team. Is it never quite being good enough?
Yeah.
You know, good job, but not that good.
Yeah.
You can always do better. You can do better. And Charlie, you did a
culture
great job
is
today,
great.
but you can do better.
I
And
know.
so
man.
next
It's
time-
Ignore
always-
him.
Can
Ignore
always do
him.
better.
Ignore him. Just don't listen to this guy. But yes, I think that Bo Nix's success, a lot of that has to do with him as a player, but also the culture that he was a part of. Sean Payton's leadership,
Yeah.
the team that was around him. And so a lot of credit to Sean Payton for that, for sure.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
pretty phenomenal.
Phenomenal.
Okay, well, CU showcase.
Yeah, we'll see you there.
We'll see you at this guy.
Thanks, Charlie.
Cut his mic,
Well done,
Andy.
well done.
Cut his mic in the back. Charlie, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Anytime-
That was fun.
Anytime you're bored and you just want to hang out, because I think we're pretty cool sometimes.
Yeah,
for
Charlie,
the
we're
most
cool,
part.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
you guys are
yeah.
getting
We
there.
cool?
You're getting there.
Anytime you're bored and want to hang out, please come join us. But
Thank you.
this has been another Guerrilla Sports Off Field presented by Trusted American Mortgage. You can head to trustedamerican.com to see how they can help you save some money, getting you a better interest rate, lowering your monthly payments. They are literally designed to save you money. So check them out. Shout out to our friends at Trusted American. Shout out to the Broncos. Shout out to CU.
Shout out.
We'll see you tomorrow for the CU showcase. Thanks for joining, and we'll see you soon. Bye.